Is that better? Allison, do I have sound now? What is going on? I've been messing with all of the controls, and so it doesn't surprise me if I don't have sound. Hopefully I do now. Let's see. Is that better? Hopefully. All right. Okay. Thank you, Allison. I guess I'll just start all over again. I am Tabitha with Tabs on Tap, and I was explaining when I didn't have sound. I'm not surprised I don't have sound. I've been trying to configure things back here. I've been up since 3 in the morning working on getting my phone line connected, getting some things done, and none of it is as easy as it might seem. So Colonel Joe Adams is going to join us today at 8 a.m. and he hopefully he can we'll be able to hear him. He's not going to be by video link. He is going to be calling into the show. So we're going to talk to him. Hopefully we'll have a little bit of a smooth transition with that. I was just explaining when no one could hear me that I switched my background a little bit, and I'm going to be interchanging that here and there, moving things around a little bit, but I thought it was kind of fitting for today having Colonel Joe Adams on. So many people don't like the Gadsden flag. It's not racist. It's not even really anti-government. It is simply a statement being made that less government is better, right? Less government is better. Limited government. That's what it means. And I think it's a very important statement. Hello, Phil. Thank you for joining us this morning. Good morning, Scott. Yeah, I'm not sure, Rochelle. I don't know what was going on with my sound this morning. Again, I was messing with some controls and trying to add Colonel Joe Adams in. So when I did that, I took all my wires off and changed all my microphone settings, and I still couldn't get it to work the way that I wanted. But we're going to get Colonel Joe Adams on one way or the other today. Colonel Joe Adams, good morning, Cindy and Amy. Colonel Joe Adams spoke with the leader of the Hells Angels. And so I'm really curious what message Joe received. But speaking of the Hells Angels, we talked about the Hells Angels potentially heading out to Aurora, Colorado to take care of those Venezuelan gang members that have taken over a couple of apartment complexes, not just one, but a couple of them, 2 or 3, I'm hearing. And they've also taken over a lot of businesses. What they're doing is it's Tren de Aragua, and it's actually a Venezuelan prison gang. Literally, it is a Venezuelan prison gang. And in Aurora, Colorado, they're in Dallas, they're in Chicago, they're in New York. They are taking over the country, fairly quickly as far as committing crimes. And it's not just street crime. It's not just taking over apartments, as I talked about the other day on the show. It's also about scams. They do a lot of different types of scams where they scam companies, they scam people, extortion. They go to businesses and tell business owners if they don't pay them a certain fee, then they're not allowed to run their business or open their business that day. A lot of extortion and intimidation. So it's more than just one thing. It's a very complex thing, and which is why I said that the other day that they're a lot like ISIS. When ISIS comes to a town, that's exactly what they do. They go door to door. If you don't comply, whether it's in your home or in your business, they either kill you or they force you out. And that's what's happening in Aurora, Colorado. And so I thought it was interesting. I do think that a lot of what we were originally, the hype originally surrounding the Hells Angels potentially going to Aurora, Colorado, I think that it was not true. A lot of hype, a lot of wishful thinking. I don't think there was a lot of truth in it. However, yesterday, a member of Trump's staff, one of his aides, posted a video about the Hells Angels. And I'm going to play this for you guys because I'm curious if you think that does this change anything? Is it possible that maybe they really are on the way? Maybe it was such a great idea that they have, of course, decided to take things into their own hands. Now, before we get too far into this, though, we also heard that the police in Aurora, Colorado, were going to take care of this situation themselves. I heard yesterday that they did make 4 arrests of 4 Tren de Aragua gang members, and that they are trying to get everything in control under, they're in Aurora at the one particular apartment complex. But I mean, we know there's more than 4 people. So what about the other ones? Did they flee? We don't know, and they're not really saying a lot about it. But let's take a quick look here.
Yesterday, I made a video looking for confirmation that the Hells Angels were going to Aurora, Colorado. And this video was posted 23 hours ago. If you didn't get goosebumps watching that, you're not human.
Were you guys able to hear that video okay? Because I was messing with my sound this morning and I'm not sure what's working and what's not working. So the only way I know is for you to talk about it. Allison, I saw a video of the local chapter that sent a strong message to leave. Can you imagine? Now, I don't want to glorify the Hells Angels or the Outlaws, the other biker gang that could potentially be heading to Aurora, because I mean, they are a biker gang. You know, there are some of them are great people. They do a lot of good things for the community. They raise a lot of money for different charities. There are good things that they do, but they also, some of their members are also extremely dangerous. We know that there's shootouts. We know that there's homicides. We know that there are sexual assaults. So I don't want to glorify them too much. However, maybe that's what it takes, because don't we have to start taking things into our own hands? No one's going to do it for us. You know, a lot of times the mayors or the governors, they have the hands of police completely tied. There's nothing the police can do. Maybe we need to take it into our own hands. I played a video for you guys the other day with a veteran in Aurora, Colorado, saying, "Hey, vets, where are you? Maybe we need to stand up. Maybe there's just maybe we just have to take things into our own hands." So we will see. Sorry, again, it's going to be one of those days. I'm having allergies. Hopefully, I won't cough through the entire show. I am trying my hardest not to. Good morning, Mary. I saw you come up through. Allison, they are terrorizing neighbors like other gangs. That's exactly what they're doing. Trende Aragua, they are certainly acting like terrorists. Anyway, so much to talk about today. Again, we have Colonel Joe Adams joining us at 8 a.m. He's going to be calling in. He has a big event this coming Saturday. Can't wait to talk to Colonel Joe Adams. Some of the other things I want to jump into is Russian collusion. Isn't that what they always say? Isn't that part of the playbook? When you're not winning, you have to blame Russia, right? Because we can't blame anyone else. And speaking of collusion and speaking of reminders of 2020, there was a general news clip, and I'm going to get to that shortly. And I shared on my personal Facebook page. Some of you guys might have already seen this, but I shared a video. There was just a typical newscast. I believe this was in North Carolina, because mail-in voting starts tomorrow in North Carolina. The ballots are going out in the mail. Well, as this guy's talking about it, he's at one of the ballot boxes and he kind of looks around. There's a car that pulls up. There's a woman who's putting a ballot into the ballot box. And he goes around and he starts talking to her. This woman has an entire stack of ballots, caught red handed, an entire stack. And this reporter should have been like, "Hey, what's going on? What are you doing?" But he doesn't. He doesn't say anything. He just keeps on reporting. And the rest of us saw it. And I'm going to show that to you guys, because how do we trust the system? This lady's standing there, and it could be maybe she's cheating. Maybe she has a big stack of ballots for Donald Trump. I don't know. And we don't know. However, I think we can assume exactly what that's about. So we're going to get into that. I mean, it is insane. Putin, yes, he did. Ryan, yes, Putin yesterday endorsed Kamala Harris. I have that video to show you of Putin endorsing her. It's pretty darn funny. I think we all know what's going on there. Some of the other things I want to get, obviously, we're going to talk about the Georgia shooting. What an awful situation yesterday in Barrow County, Georgia, Appalachia High School. We're certainly going to get into that. I want to talk about the Army. Why is the Army in New York City? And not just the Army, but also the National Guard. I've got a little video for you there. Again, Walz family, I don't know, they said the entire Walz family. I don't think it's the entire family, of course, but the Walz family absolutely has endorsed Donald Trump in a really big way. And not a big surprise, because the New York Post the other day, it was on the front page of the New York Post, where they talked to Jeff Walz, Tim Walz' brother, and he stated, and you guys may remember, I read those text messages to you, that he does not think that Walz could be a good vice president. He doesn't think he should be making any laws or running for any office. And he didn't say exactly what, but he did absolutely state there are things that I know that you don't. So there's probably a lot going on. I've got a video from Anonymous that I'm going to play you guys because, they're anonymous, and I'll let you guys hear it for yourselves. Anonymous is trying to tie in an emergency declaration with the documents. Remember when the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago and they were looking for classified documents? Well, Anonymous states that they were looking specifically for documents that Donald Trump created in case there was some type of an emergency situation. And they feel that they need to talk about this and uncover these documents because the FBI obviously needed to recover these documents, because if something goes down, maybe we won't all go down with it. Maybe Trump had a plan of action. Well, we won't know till we hear a little bit more, of course. And outside of that, lots to talk about. Mary third cousins said on Fox. Oh, okay, third cousins. And yeah, like I said, his brother Jeff Walz gave a very candid interview to the New York Post the other day. If you haven't seen that, definitely go out and take a look at the New York Post, because there's a lot there. There's just a lot going on everywhere, isn't there? Russian collusion. Isn't that the old playbook? When we can't win, guess what we'll do? We'll say there's Russian collusion. It's always going to be Russia. And of course, they're talking about disinformation. And how can you not laugh, right? I mean, they're grasping at straws. They're trying to do anything they can because they know they cannot win. They can't win. They just cannot win. And it doesn't matter what the polls say, it's all propaganda. Good morning, Glessa. It's all propaganda. And I look at the polls and I say, oh, Harris up, 8 points, Harris up 10 points. We look at the rallies, and I think we all know, there's been a couple of rallies where we saw empty seats. There have been rallies where, do you remember where they were like AI people? There was no way they could say these were real people. Some of them had 3 eyes. Some of them have shrunken heads, because AI is not perfect by any means. And if you ask it to create a crowd, and I play around on AI just to see what it does, and it does not do very well with creating people. And so the one rally she had, some of these people had 3 arms, some of them had 3 eyes, some of them, again, shrunken heads, completely, they didn't look like real people. Some of them had little teeny tiny hands and some had great big hands. It was really weird, but those are the tricks they try to play. But they learned, because they realized that we're going to scrutinize that. We're going to see that these aren't real people. So then what they decided to do is they're just going to pan in really close shots, so that way you can't see that there's nobody around, and you can't see that they had to add, they didn't have to add in all these fake AI people. But let's just say it for what it is. She's not winning. We know she's not winning. We know there are very few people in this country that support Kamala Harris. However, she continues, of course, to win in the polls. So of course they've got to say Russia and collusion. And Putin just laughed. As a matter of fact, the Russian Times, which of course our intelligence agencies always want to say that the Russian Times, you'll see it'll say RT.com, something along those lines when you're looking up different articles, or you might see their videos. I share a lot of their videos, quite honestly. I trust Russian Times, RT.com, far more than I trust CNN or MSNBC or any of these other ridiculous stations. So think about that one. So they're trying to say, our intelligence agencies trying to say that it's all Russian intelligence, it's all disinformation, and that of course they're trying to go on and spread lies on social media, and they're trying to influence the election. But where have they ever addressed the fact that Mark Zuckerberg just told us in writing and outwardly speaking, both ways, that the Biden administration pretty well forced him to censor conservative content, to censor Donald Trump? We know, we know what's going on. They just act like we're stupid. Good morning, Karen. I mean, they act like we're stupid. We're not stupid, are we? We know exactly what's going on. And they just can't get away with it. I've got a picture here of Walz family. I know you guys are talking about that on there. This guy, man, he's a mess. And it's not just because his own family doesn't support him. Even if these are third cousins or whatever you have, it's still the fact that the guy is a complete fake, isn't he? Remember me telling you guys about how he had two different dogs named Scout? And speaking of the Babylon Bee, came up with this funny, as they do satire, that said even Scout the dog has endorsed Trump. So even if these people are third cousins, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because we already know that Tim Wall's own brother Jeff told us that he has secrets. There are things they can't tell us. There's a lot going on. And so that's something to think about. Always keep that in mind. And I was going to play, I already played it the other day, so I'm not going to play it again. But you guys remember me talking about Tim Walz. Remember how he released that video the other day, or I released a video, it was a clip of him saying, just like what they're doing to X over in Europe, that here in the United States, we're not guaranteed free speech. I mean, this guy has lost his mind. And that just goes to show exactly what's going to happen. Let's see, Jay. No one with a brain believes the media laptop was Russian misinformation until it wasn't fake Russian dossier. I remember that. Yeah. Remember, they came up with this big collusion, this big scam, all trying to blame Russia. And of course, Hillary Clinton right in the middle of things. The only thing that's happening right now is she's probably jealous because she's not getting the attention. They're blaming it on Russia and not Hillary Clinton. Mary, isn't Walz being subpoenaed for fraud? Not for fraud, but I was going to get to that, and you know what? We can just talk about it now. Let me see here. It's a certain organization. I have it here. Let's see. What is the name of this organization? They are definitely coming after. They're going to do everything they can to investigate Walz when it comes to China. And so there was a commission here. Sorry, guys, I have it here, but I wasn't planning to talk about it now. So the House of Education and Workforce, that's what it was. The House of Education Workforce Committee, they're investigating Walz because he has close ties to communist China, right? So they're going to investigate him. They think that it is potentially a national security risk, and it probably is. We've talked about that before on the show. Mary, funds for food or something. I haven't seen anything about funds for food. And he would get a subpoena for fraud. If so, I've not seen that. Nothing would surprise me, but I've not seen anything like that. We know he has very close ties to China. We've talked many times on this show about how can we expect him to be impartial? How can we expect him to create foreign policy or support foreign policy when we know that he has this love for China? If it's you or me or one of us and we love China, we love Chinese cultures, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with him loving Chinese culture or loving the Chinese people. Where things go wrong and where we have to worry is the fact that he lived in China for a period of time. Was he compromised? We don't know. I mean, has he met Chinese officials? We have no idea. If he's so impartial to China and he loves them so much, he loves the people and he loves the culture to where it's intertwined throughout his entire life. The Chinese culture is. If you've seen photos of his home, he has a Chinese garden. He's visited China 30 times. He's lived there and taught English in a Chinese high school. So of course he has very close ties. For you and I, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But when it's going to be a vice president of a country who should be fearing China, no, we do not want him to be biased. The last thing we want is for him to start selling all of our farmland to China, letting the Chinese government place their technology right next to our military bases, because that's what they're doing now. They're buying farmland. It's not for any reason other than spying on us. They conveniently purchase farmland very close to military bases, and then they bring equipment in and they listen to our communications. That's a fact. Why we don't kick them out, I don't know. good luck with that. Our government doesn't seem to do any of the things that they should be doing, do they? Let's see, Allison, children's school lunch program funds misuse. Well, the problem with the school lunch program that he had, and I hadn't heard yet about the funds being misused, but the reason why I don't support the school lunch program in Minneapolis, well, it was really throughout the entire state of Minnesota, is that it offered free lunches to all kids. And while I'm not against kids having free lunches, I'm really not. It's that it's taxpayer money paying for lunches of children. And many of these children are children who have families who can afford to pay for their lunch. There's a lot of wealthy families in Minnesota. And this particular program that Tim Walz instituted, it provides free lunch for all kids, regardless of economic status. And I think that's wrong. I don't think the taxpayer should pay money to purchase school lunches for kids whose families are wealthy. I mean, I understand even middle class families, give them a free lunch, lower income, give them free lunch. But if you're a wealthy family, your children should not have a free lunch at school. I wouldn't want my tax money to pay for your child's lunch when you can afford it better than half the people in the state. And Mary said COVID funds. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I don't know, Mary, but I will definitely look into that. We can talk about it tomorrow. Allison, did you see his DUI mugshot? He looks like a Chinese spy. I have seen it. And that's why it's so funny why I joke around like, is the man even real? Because his persona is definitely not real. It is definitely not real. And speaking of not real, I was having some, as usual, technical issues this morning. So I don't think I was ever able to pull it up on here. I tried, but I don't think I was ever able to get it here on the screen. But I had a video, and you guys already know what I'm talking about, and you've already seen it. It was Biden sitting at his little Fisher Price desk. Let's just go back to this because you know what? What are they doing? I mean, they don't even care what we think, do they? They don't care. They do not care at all what we think. It's so obvious. Biden, again, back at the fake soundstage that looks like the White House, where he was in that little tiny Fisher Price desk. That was not the White House. And no, it wasn't Tyler Perry's studio either. We already know because they have already told us this is not, this is a fact. This isn't just speculation. There is a soundstage across from the White House that has a stage that looks exactly like the White House. And Biden has been there many times to give press conferences and other things in this fake White House. Now, why they brought out this little teeny tiny miniature desk, I have no idea. But he looked absolutely ridiculous. And I think that there is so much more to it that you guys don't know. So much more to it that I don't know. And I'm kind of trying to put things together. I really do think, I really do think that there's a bigger scam going on. I've talked before about what happened in Las Vegas. Obviously Biden heading to Las Vegas. He was going there for a campaign event, and then all of a sudden Las Vegas police said, "Oh, we heard the 911 tapes. We got to clear the road out. We've got to make room for the motorcade, sorry, to come through to the Las Vegas University Hospital." And they thought he had a major stroke, is what they told emergency responders there. Well, then they changed their mind. They ended up getting on Air Force One and going back to his home in Delaware. Then, of course, they said he had COVID. And then we didn't see him again for a really long time. And then we saw a speech of him the other day that I played for you guys. And one side of his mouth was drooped down very unusually. And I really do think that he had a massive stroke. I really do. And I know that's just speculation on my part. I cannot confirm it, but I absolutely do think that he had a major stroke. And I don't think he's at the White House anymore. I don't think he's been at the White House for quite some time, if ever, quite honestly, if ever. There's a lot of talk about, and that would be a day when I put my tinfoil hat on, but you can't convince me he's ever been at the White House, quite honestly. And I know for sure he's not been there recently. What is going on? Why isn't somebody in Congress saying who's running our country? But no one is, not Republicans, not Democrats. No one, no one. We need to start asking why. Why don't these people question it? We've got to start reaching out to our Republicans in Congress and say, why? Why aren't you talking about these issues? Why aren't you bringing these things up? Because we want to know what is going on. I want to know what is going on. Why is Biden on this fake soundstage? Why were there moving trucks at the White House? Why isn't he actually physically at the White House? Why do they lie? Why can't they just come out and tell us that, yes, Joe Biden had a stroke? You know, it's unfortunate. We're praying for him. He's in a grave condition, and we're going to have to take emergency measures to swear someone else in under oath. And he's not going to be here anymore. He's not capable. But no, they don't do that. It's all fake. It's all ridiculous. And I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do. I really don't. But we will figure it out. But in the meantime, I want to show this to you guys. This is a message from Anonymous. So take it how you will, but I think it's very interesting.
Donald Trump actually plays chess on a 5D level, and you can never anticipate what his next move is going to be. He said that as Mar-a-Lago was seized upon for the Presidential Emergency Act document, which is only what Trump knows and the military. He had to do this because he declared 2 national emergencies. And you know what? Biden hasn't reversed that. Biden has signed on to 3 of his executive orders to continue them going. So we have some very fascinating things that are going to come out. Executive Order 13848 of September 12, 2018, imposing certain sanctions in the event of foreign interference in the United States election. By the authority vested in me as President, by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the International Emergencies Economic Powers Act, the National Emergencies Act, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, find that the ability of persons located, in whole or in substantial part, outside the United States to interfere in or undermine public confidence in United States elections, including through the unauthorized accessing of election and campaign infrastructure or the covert distribution of propaganda and disinformation, constitutes an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security and foreign policy of the United States.
People in the know, not necessarily in government, not necessarily out of government, I can't say too much, but there is incontrovertible evidence of Joe Biden's corruption that is about to be made public. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen before Labor Day, but it will happen sometime between Labor Day and Halloween. This tape will be made public. I'm not sure by what entity at this point, but once it is heard, Joe Biden will have, well, he'll have only 2 options. I am told this tape is that incriminating, and they're worried about it right now at the White House. They know about it. They know it's out there. There may be more than one.
Is President Biden in?
What is really going on? You know, I'm always suspicious of videos by Anonymous, because is it the real Anonymous? Is it a fake Anonymous? I could put an Anonymous mask on with my flag behind me. I kind of feel like I could make a pretty good video for Anonymous. However, I don't know. I don't know what to think. But I know there is something odd about them, about the FBI raiding Mar-a-Lago and looking for classified documents. And I always thought that there was something a little bit more to it. I'm sure you probably did too. You know, they what they did to Trump did not compare to the searches for Biden. Remember that? When they searched Mar-a-Lago and pulled out classified documents, it was this huge, big deal. And then when it came to Joe Biden, remember, he had classified documents in the trunk of his car. He had boxes stacked up in his garage of classified documents, and they didn't even care. Remember, they ended up going to Joe Biden's house because Joe Biden said, oh, well, I have some I have some classified documents too. Maybe you should come and get them. And then Mike Pence, he had to jump in and, I have some classified documents too. I definitely think there's something more to the story. And let's see, Robert. Q post suggests the same, but what does it really mean? Is it fake news? Who knows? That's just it. And that's why we have to talk about it, because is it fake news? A lot of times it is fake news. Is there more to it? More often there is more to the story. And with Trump, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Trump didn't safeguard some documents, that if he didn't come up and draw up plans. Because if, let's just say if, even though I know, yes, it's true, because we're going to show a video in a little while about election election cheating happening already, with this lady putting multiple ballots into the ballot box, so we know it happens. We have multiple videos. Why, we've all seen, most of us, 2000 Mules, so we know it happens. Wouldn't it make sense for Trump to create some type of document, some type of law that maybe wasn't released publicly, that protects our election integrity in the event that cheating does occur again? I mean, it would make sense to me. If I were a president, if I were the person in charge, and I knew that I would be running again, and I knew that I'd been cheated out of an election in the past, I would safeguard it. Who knows what all Trump has done behind the scenes? I know he's an intelligent man. I know that he has a great team of people working for him. So it would not surprise me at all if he have safeguarded some way to prove what is going on. Was there interference? Was there more collusion on the part of our intelligence agencies and the cabal that actually runs this country? None of that would surprise me at all. Crew, anyone surprised by any Biden corruption is already lost. Isn't that the truth? And that's part of going back to why I think Biden is either never been in the White House or hasn't been in the White House in a long time. There's no really reason for him to be there, because we know he's not running this country. We already know that. We knew that at the time of the election, didn't we? We knew that back then. And so that shouldn't surprise us, should it? I've always thought he's off somewhere, in hospice or with a nursing team, even before the stroke situation came up. But yeah, Allison says at least a mini stroke. I'll tell you, I don't think we know what to believe anymore, or who to believe, or anything else, do we? And then we had the deal with Biden, what his family. This was a true investigation. It wasn't fake. It was an actual, literal investigation by Congress that revealed that the Biden family, the Biden crime family, they amassed $27 million. And, I'm kind of wondering if they did that behind the cabal's back. Maybe the Bidens were so ridiculously arrogant and money hungry that they thought that they could make these back deals, and the cabal that runs this country, the Clintons, the Obamas, and so on, that those people wouldn't even know. And I could see that happening, that they probably thought they have so much control that they could get away with doing this and no one would ever know. Not surprising at all. And it kind of makes me wonder if that is the case, if the folks who truly do run this country, if they came out and they said, hey, Biden, you're no longer welcome here. We're done with you. You're causing us too much trouble. You went behind our backs. You took all the $27 million. We knew nothing about it. And now you've drawn attention to us that we don't need. But again, $27 million. And like Allison says, no accountability. There is no accountability at all for anything the government does. Absolutely nothing. Robert Newsmax. I saw as part of the Black Eye Club, true or false, no clue. I also saw Mark Levin as part of it. I love Mark Levin. I love his show. What is it? Life, Liberty, and Levin, something like that. And if that's who you're talking about, I'm not sure if you're talking about him or somebody else. And Robert says, I trust us, not others, not so much. I agree. And Adrian, everyone who colluded to hide his mental incapacity for all this time should be prosecuted. Yes, they absolutely should be prosecuted. No question about it. Will that happen? Probably not. Probably not. All right. Well, Joe Adams is going to be joining us in just a few moments. And I'm going to play this quick video for you guys. talking about cheating, since we're talking about cheating, take a look at this. I'm going to play it twice because I want you to get a really good look at this woman and the ballots that she's holding. And she doesn't even flinch. She doesn't even try to move away. You would think, okay, there's news cameras here. Maybe I shouldn't have this giant stack of ballots in my hands. So take a good look at this here.
The only ballot drop box in Cuyahoga County, Ohio. You can see this woman right here casting her vote. Did you vote for Reagan or Jimmy Carter? Carter, okay. We don't want to get too personal with people here, but you can see there's...
Shoot. Sorry, guys. I have no idea what happened there. My whole system went down.
Box in Cuyahoga County, Ohio. You can see this woman right here casting her vote. Did you vote for Reagan or Jimmy Carter? Carter, okay. We don't want to get too personal with people here, but you can see there's actually a trend.
All right, watch that one more time.
The only ballot drop box in Cuyahoga County, Ohio. You can see this woman right here casting her vote. Did you vote for Reagan or Jimmy Carter? Carter, okay. We don't want to get too personal with people here, but you can see there's actually a trend.
Yeah, do you see her? Let's back this up here. Let's back it up just a little bit. Let's find her. There she is. Do you see the stack of things that and she has a mask on. So she's not one of us. Look at, there it is. Let's take a good look at that. See that? What exactly does she have there? And I don't know. I don't know what their votes look like in that area, but I think we all have a good idea. Sorry, behind the scenes, I'm working to get Joe Adams on. If you guys are wondering what I'm doing back here, I almost shut down the entire show trying to work things out. You know, we will get it. Normally we get all this done before the show. We were going to have Joe Adams join us by phone, but I do believe he's going to join us by video link. So behind the scenes, we're trying to get things done. But in the meantime, since we're a live show, we just have to carry on, and hopefully he'll be jumping in with us soon and that we can have him. I'll be watching for him in the wings to join us. But I can't wait to talk to Colonel Joe Adams. He has a big event coming up this coming Saturday. We're going to get into that. Marshall Teague as his special guest. And I can't wait. I plan on going. Hopefully I will see all of you there. And as well, we're going to talk to Colonel Joe Adams about the Hells Angels. Let's see, Adrian, she definitely put at least 2 in. Oh, I am sure she put that entire stack in. And she is probably just one of many. Did you see that stack she had in her hand? She is one of many. No question about it. Dottie, Reagan or Carter? How old is this? I'm not sure what you mean, Dottie, by Reagan or Carter. Kevin, wow, Democrat worker bee. Oh, yeah. You know, that's the problem. You know, I've talked to you guys about this before. What would you want? What would you do if you had the opportunity to take over the country? How would you do it? Right? You would have all of the media in your pocket, right? You would have the postal service in your pocket, right? Because if you control the mail, then you control the mail-in ballots. And we know they're pushing further and further for mail-in ballots. And I don't know if you guys remember in 2020, all of the issues we had with the USPS. I mean, we have countless videos. I saw countless videos. Some of those videos were part of 2000 Mules. And in that movie and in those videos, you clearly see USPS postal workers saying, oh, yeah, you know, look at these big boxes of ballots we have here. Oh, no, we're going to throw those in the trash. Do you remember how many ballots they found dumped on the roadways? They were just dumping them on the side of the highway. Thousands of ballots they found. And where are all these people? Are they in jail? Dottie says, play it again. Did the news guy ask her who she voted for? I don't think so. Let me see if I can pull that up and play that again for you guys. And Dottie, you can take a little bit better look. Here we go.
The only ballot drop box in Cuyahoga County, Ohio. You can see this woman right here casting her vote. Did you vote for Reagan or Jimmy Carter? Carter, okay. We don't want to get too personal with people here, but you can see there's actually a...
Yep. He doesn't really say a whole lot. Let's see here. Let's play it one more time.
Only ballot drop box box in Cuyahoga County, Ohio. You can see this woman right here casting her vote. Did you vote for Reagan or Jimmy Carter? Carter, okay. We don't want to get too personal with people here, but you can see.
Why would he ask her that? That's a good point that you guys made. I didn't remember. I was so busy watching her that I didn't even realize what he was talking about, Reagan or Carter. Wonder why he asked that, right? Why did you vote for Reagan or Carter? That doesn't even make any sense. Cuyahoga County, Ohio. I hope they go in, and I hope that they check that out because we need to take a look at that. Colonel Joe Adams waiting in the wings. We're going to grab him and pull him into things here. Let's see. Let me make sure we got his sound on. I need a producer. Does anybody want to come in and produce for me so that I don't have to do all of these things myself while I'm on the show? Or maybe I need to learn how to take breaks. So maybe I'll go out and get some sponsors and get some commercials, and then I'll take like a 10-minute break to get things arranged. One step at a time, right? One step at a time. We are getting there. So let's see here. Colonel Joe Adams with the Washington Guard. As you can see on the ticker at the bottom, if you want to reach out to the Washington Guard, and we're going to talk to Joe about this, reach out to patriots@thewashingtonguard.com. And Colonel Joe Adams is going to join us. Let's make sure we can get him in here. Sometimes my system is a little funny. Hey, Colonel Joe Adams, how are you doing today?
Hey, good morning, Tabitha. How are you?
Good morning. So happy to have you. And we've been talking about you. As a matter of fact, Joe, I think I talk about you just about every single day on the show because there's always something going on in which I think we need the Washington Guard to be on our side. And I know you have a big event tomorrow or on Friday. Sorry, to me, I keep thinking today's Friday. On Saturday. Can you talk to us a little bit about that first?
Oh, yeah. Marshall T is coming to speak. National kickboxing champion in the his breakout role was, of course, is Jimmy Reno in the 1989 cult classic Roadhouse. And the interesting thing I found out, he's actually in the Ronald Reagan movie that just came out. Anyway, so he likes to, he goes around and his speeches are a little different. He likes to talk to people. He actually said that the reason he actually goes around and talks at different events is just he likes to meet people. So please come out and join us at the Triple Tree Winery Saturday night from 5 to 9:15. Tickets are still available, not very many. Also, they can do a VIP ticket where they get to meet in Marshall in a private meeting at the Triple Tree, and it's just going to be a tremendous event, and all the money goes for, of course, it's a fundraiser. The money goes to support the training and equipment that the Washington Guard needs to support our real American heroes, our first responders. So please come on out, and my cat's in the shot again. So anyway, see you all Saturday night. Come out, and I've watched your on your Facebook, your posts and your comments, and I've got the names down pretty well. But come out and meet me. I want to talk to you, and we'll talk about the Washington Guard and other things that's going on in the country. So, yeah, I'll speak. Marshall's the key speaker, but I'll open the show with a current situation as far as being prepared to take care of yourself, like you're on your own, those kind of things. So it'll be a great event. So come on out.
It will be a fantastic event. I can't wait. And Joe, I really hope we see a lot of familiar faces come out, a lot of new faces. It's amazing that you guys put these events together. You've had many. I'm sure you'll have many, many more to come. It's a really great opportunity for us all to get together. And to me, it's the way to remind ourselves that we are the majority. They don't want us to think we are the majority, but we certainly are. And Joe, I know that you and I talked, and you had a conversation with the leader of the Hells Angels. I have been dying to hear exactly how this went down. What can you tell us?
Yeah. Of course, I'm friends with the former president of the Angels. I mean, why wouldn't I be, right? So when this thing hit the media about the Hells Angels, they held one of their sister clubs. I said, well, let me just call George and find out. So I thought he was still in Spain. He got stuck behind enemy line during COVID and couldn't leave Spain. So he's been over there for quite a while. He's back in Ventura, which is his original chapter of the Hells Angels that he was president of before he became president of all the Hells Angels. So I called him he was very happy and sad about rumors about the Hells Angels going to Aurora to settle things. So he said, well, here's how it got started. There was no ever mention of action between the Hells Angels, the Mongols, and the Venezuelan gangs. So what happened was there was a ride set up that they were to Aurora to what they call Four Corners biker event. And they started riding from California to Aurora for the biker event. And somehow it got twisted around to where they would take on the gang up there, which I don't think is a bad idea, actually. Anyway, so he said no on the fact that they, if somebody's going to get their butts in trouble, and they've always been in enough trouble. So that was how that rumor got started. I don't know. And he did say to me, though, Colonel, that's a great publicity stunt. And I said, yeah, just the fact that you say you're going up there. Anyway, so people don't remember this, but I do. This is not the first time that the Hells Angels have been on national and international TV talking about doing something like that. So as far as I can remember, back in 1970, maybe 69, 70, 71, Sonny Barger, who was the original president of the Hells Angels when they got organized, Sonny Barger, who's now deceased, and which is another interesting story.
I just read about
Barger wrote he would volunteer himself and 50 Hells Angels to go to Vietnam and stop the war. So, which I thought was, I mean, what a great publicity. So anyway, on national TV, World News, he has a press conference and says on TV, I have written our president, Richard Nixon, a letter, and the Hells Angels are ready to go to Vietnam and stop the war. So that reminded me of that episode, comical. Anyway, got a lot of press. But talking about the Hells Angels, and I'm getting to a point here. Just stay with me. This is important. He said, so Sonny Barger died in 2022.
Yes.
I believe it was Hook. So 7,000 bikers show up for his funeral. And George Christie, I think, was president of the Hells Angels from 1978 to 2011. First of all, Sonny Barger denied being the president of the Hells Angels up until the time he died. Died in Arizona. And but he knew he was president, but he so 7,000 bikers showing. Guess who the guest speaker was at his funeral? Do you know? Tucker Carlson spoke at Sonny Barger's funeral. He was the guest speaker at Sonny's funeral. I love that.
I had no idea, Joe. I was just reading about Sonny Barger the other day because I'm like, I don't even know who the leader of the Hells Angel is. And, and I looked it up, and of course, there's so many chapters these days. It's such a huge organization. And I saw all their, I actually joined their Facebook page. They're probably like, who's this crazy girl on our Facebook page? But I was so curious about what's going on. And I don't know if you know this, Joe, I played the video earlier where one of Trump's aides posted a video of the Hells Angels. It was like a parody where they show them waking up somebody in their bed and going through their closet, and that they were on their way to Aurora. And I thought that was pretty funny.
No, yeah, it is really funny. Of course, the Hells Angels outlaw motorcycle game, right? We all know that. Now, but here's a question. Sonny Barger, the original president, enlisted in the Army in 1955. He was discharged 14 months later, discharged because he found out the guy was like 15 years old. He had forged his birth certificate, and it finally caught up with him.
Oh
So
no.
they now he said he really enjoyed the Army because of the camaraderie. And he could play with weapons and disassemble them, assemble them. Now you see where that's going, right? The camaraderie. What happened? But the Hells Angels name is actually from World War II. That was a bombardier squadron that was very successful, had over 25 missions, which is the big in the bomber category. If you can make 25 missions without dying, you're some kind of superhero. In fact, the guy who eventually dropped the bomb, Hiroshima, actually had 25 after the Hells Angels. So they worked in the Netherlands and Germany and France in World War II. They were very successful. After the war, they were all discharged, of course, the pilots in the crew chiefs, in the crew, fine work. And these guys were soldiers. They've been in combat. Think how much combat and risk they took as a brotherhood. The Hells Angels, World War II. That was on the plane, the Hells Angels. Yeah, so they can't find work. Chiefs that they were trained by the government. There was no work. And so these characters said, okay, we don't have any money. We can't find jobs. So they bought old motorcycles and leather boots and drove up and down the coast. Our veterans couldn't get a job. And they called themselves the Hells. In 1955, they were established as a motorcycle club. So that and some of the original members, once they actually founded the Hells Angels, was the pilots and people from World War II. And that's the history
Isn't that
of the Hells
something?
Angels.
I had no idea,
So the
Joe. That's wild.
patriotism, is this. Can you be a member of an outlaw motorcycle gang at the same time be a patriot?
I think so.
I can't answer that question. But when Sonny Barger was president of the Hells Angels, and they had all these Vietnam protests, the Hells Angels would go in and kick their ass and break them up. They were patriots, but they were outlaws. Simple as that. So it's
Yeah, you're right, Joe. I just talked about that earlier. It's like I hate glorifying these, outlaw motorcycle gangs, but yet they do a lot of good things for charity. There's a lot of money they raise for, let's say, different children's charities and all different types of different things, and they do often go in, there's different biker groups who go out and try to tackle a situation with pedophilia, and they go after pedophiles. There's a lot of different things, a lot of good things they do, but there's always, like in anything, there's always a couple bad apples. And then you hear about these big biker fights and people are getting killed, but that's, I think the couple bad apples.
For plotting a bombing of another motorcycle club. So he was no, he was a Hells Angel, but Sonny's biggest was how the government would always come down on the Hells Angels for individual acts by their members. These people are all over the world. When I was in Amsterdam, I went into a bar in Amsterdam, and there's the Amsterdam chapter of the Hells Angels. They're all over the world. They're in Chicago. They're everywhere.
They are.
George Christie, the former president until 2011, my friend, really he copyrighted the Hells Angels logo. And because other people, you could print a Hells Angels shirt. I don't think you got to be printing the Hells Angels shirts today, because they own that. Just like
Right.
Harley Davidson owns Harley
Copyrighted.
Davidson. Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah,
It absolutely is.
that's how it started, the Hells Angels. Then segue off from that, because I know you're limited to a member of a think tank called. I'm a member of a think tank called Phoenix 13, and we've been studying the possible results the election coming up. And one of the guys came up and wrote a manifest the other day, and we studied it, and we come up with about 35, 36 possibilities of outcomes of the election to the worst case scenario. That if Kamala Harris is elected president and they incarcerate Donald J. Trump, it could be the beginning of the revolution in the country. This could be really, really bad. Now, it's strange. We all know that the one thing they'd like to do, they would like to have Trump assassinated. Now, we're studying the United States of America. That's kind of third world concepts where assassinations are normal. What the hell is going on here? When they talk about turning to a third world country, daily violence, we're allowing the Venezuelan gang to take over a town and businesses. What is that? And now everybody's talking about, boy, I know that Democrats would prefer just to have Trump assassinated, and that's the truth. He's out of the way then. But if he lives, there's no indication he's not going to get into prison. I'll be very surprised if Donald Trump ever sets in office again.
I'll be, Joe, I will be surprised too. And I wanted to let you know, for some reason, I hear you fine, but I'm hearing from the comments that no one can hear you. I mean, they can hear you, but it's breaking up really bad. So I apologize for that. I just want to let you know that. And for some reason, I can't see the comments, but people are messaging me with comments. So I apologize. I hear you perfectly fine. I don't know why it breaks up on the other end coming out of things. So I do apologize. So hopefully some of your messages is getting through, but we're gonna figure out a better way to make sure that we do get your message through, because it is so incredibly important to hear. But for anyone who couldn't hear Joe, or you can't fully hear what he's saying, he's talking about how things are going to be and how he doesn't believe that Donald Trump will ever sit in the Oval Office. And I'll tell you what, Joe, I couldn't agree with you more. I don't think there's any way possible that's going to happen. I think they'll lie, cheat, steal, and anything else they can do to possibly make sure that he never sits in that seat. I completely agree with you. And Joe, we'll pick it up. That's right.
That's okay. We can try again. You can reiterate to your listeners the things I said. Whatever the Democrats have to do, you cannot allow back the White House.
Absolutely. No question about it. Well, Joe, thank you so much for joining us. That's Colonel Joe. All right, that's Colonel Joe Adams with the Washington Guard. Thank you so much, Colonel Joe Adams, for joining us. And I apologize, everyone. I'm not sure what was going on with the sound. We're going to work on that because we have to have Colonel Joe Adams joining us. He's got such a valuable opinion and so many different things going on. And he and I, we're going to get together. We're going to work this out and make sure that we do have sound. And everything in the system is kind of going crazy right now. I can't see any of your comments, just so you know. People who've been texting me is how I know that the sound was a little bit garbled. So I apologize for that. But we will carry on because there is still so much to talk about. And tomorrow, we'll talk again a little bit about the event for the Washington Guard that's taking place this coming Saturday. Marshall Teague, again, will be the guest speaker. And what Colonel Joe Adams, he was talking about, if you couldn't hear him as well as I could, he was talking about, of course, the Hells Angels and the conversation he had. And, of course, the fact that, unfortunately, the Hells Angels, they are not coming to Aurora, Colorado. And I think we all kind of knew that wasn't going to happen. I think it was all kind of wishful thinking to some degree. And I do think that they would have cleaned house had they gone to Aurora, California. And I might be, or Colorado, that is. I might be the only one. Am I the only one that's disappointed that they're not going? Because I was kind of hoping they would. I thought that would be kind of interesting to see. But we've got to start taking care of our own. And whether that's because of the Hells Angels or outlaw biker groups. I don't know. Whoever wants to step up and take care of these gangs, man, you better do it. We have got to have a call to action to take care of these gangs because it is completely out of control, completely out of control. And I'm going to try to bring up my comments again while you guys are here. I don't know if I can or can't. I don't know why they're not coming up. So I apologize to all of you for that. I think all right, I got them back. Sorry about that, guys. One of those days, isn't it? And they lots of technical issues. Like I said, maybe one of these days I'll have a producer and then I can have somebody who does all this behind the scenes stuff and I'll just stand here and talk. That would be ideal, wouldn't it? But I'm going to get these situations worked out because we have a lot of guests joining us soon. And I want to make sure that we can hear them and that the audio comes through and the video comes through and all of those good things. So thank you to Colonel Joe Adams for joining us. If you want to reach out to the Washington Guard, please do so. You can do that at patriots@thewashingtonguard.com. And they will be more than happy to hear from you, answer any questions, have you come out to one of their musters. Lots of things going on there. And there's still so much that we want to talk about. Unfortunately, yesterday we had the shooting in Georgia that was at Appalachia High School. And I couldn't believe it when I saw it. We haven't had a school shooting in quite some time. And I think we all know it was bound to happen sooner or later. I don't even know what to say about it. It's heartbreaking. 4 victims. There was a coach, a teacher, 2 students. I'm going to pop up their photo here for you really quick. And so we can take a look at this. Just absolutely heartbreaking that this took place. It is absolutely heartbreaking. And Linda says, according to about Colonel Joe, it was hard to hear, but she could make it out. Thank you for that, Linda. So this is Coach Richard Aspinall. He is 39 years old. Teacher Christina Ermy, she is 53 years old. And then, of course, there's 2 students here, and I'm not going to mention their names since they are minors. It's just absolutely unbelievable that these things continue to happen. What in the world is going on? And of course, the thing that we always want to talk about is, how did he get the weapon? What is going on in his life? What caused him to do this? In this case, 14-year-old Colt Gray. What caused him to just wake up one morning and decide to pick up a weapon and go into a school and go classroom to classroom and shoot at teachers and students? And Robert said, yes, it is another tragedy. No question about it. And I was looking, I always try to look. I was really busy yesterday. As you guys know, I didn't have a show yesterday because I got called into work, which happens from time to time. And hopefully we'll have I think from now on, and on a side note, if I get called into work, instead of just doing a replay, I'm just going to do a live show later in the day when I'm done with work, because there's still always so much to talk about. But I was at work, started seeing the messages coming through about the shooting. And since I was working, I couldn't really look at everything, but I was trying to see as much as I could. I tried to get up early this morning and do as much research. And Robert says the FBI interviewed the shooter last year. They did in May of 2023. In May of 2023, there were threats that were posted on social media. There were allegedly some calls that were made to some schools that said that multiple schools were going to be attacked. And the anonymous poster online was posting photos of guns and talking about attacking these high schools and elementary schools there in Barrow County, Georgia. And the FBI investigated, they traced all of the social media posts and the calls back to, at that time, 13-year-old Colt Gray. And I mean, what are they going to do? We all want to say, well, let's hold them responsible. They didn't throw him away, and take the key. You can't do that. He was 13 years old. All you can do is hopefully he gets some psychological evaluations and they work out whatever was causing him to have these feelings. There's only so much you can do. And I don't know the background of Colt Gray. I know that he's 14 years old. I know for at least a year now, he has fantasized and talked about and visualized him committing a school shooting. I think that's extremely significant. I do think that some measures should have been taken that obviously weren't taken. He has a gun. Where did he get the gun? We can only assume that he retrieved it from his parents, one of his parents. We know that he lived with his father and his two younger siblings. Well, but what can you do? You know, a lot of people, I saw a lot of posts last night blaming the parents. Parents are, I don't know if they're separated, divorced. I'm not really sure. I know that the kids, including Colt, live with their father and not their mother. Maybe there was some family turmoil going on. Maybe he was bullied. Maybe he's just a bad person. I don't know. I just don't know what the answer is. I don't know why, I know one thing, taking away guns, that's not the answer. Restricting guns, creating new gun laws, that's not the answer. Parents, they have a certain parental right where they absolutely should make sure that any weapons in the home are locked up, that your teenagers, your kids, or even sometimes your adult children cannot access those weapons. And in this case, and in many other cases, the parents made it entirely too easy for these kids to get the weapons. And I'm not saying, I don't even know yet in this particular instance, if it was the parent's weapon. That's what I'm hearing, and that's probably the case. Allison, they released the 90-page manifesto from the trans shooter in 2023 in Nashville, who killed four at Covenant School. They did. Now, I don't know if Colt Gray had a manifesto. I haven't heard anything like that yet. But, when they released the manifesto for the trans shooter, again, at Covenant School in Nashville, they didn't want anyone to see it. They tried to hide it. I posted a couple of the excerpts on social media. I was quickly reprimanded. I believe I had a 2-day jail term for that. And the same as, remember when we had the shooting? Oh, where was that? Offhand, I can't remember. I believe it was in Buffalo. Was it Buffalo, New York? Rochester, New York? Buffalo, New York? A couple years ago. Same thing. I posted a photo of the gunman because when you looked at the weapon, you could see that he had stickers, he had tattoos and different things. There was a lot of different things I posted about that. Again, reprimanded on social media. The trans shooter, they didn't want anyone to know she was trans, and she had a sticker, a little pink trans sticker, which at the time meant like trans power or something like that, on the weapon. But they don't want you to talk about these things. They don't want us to share the truth about these different shooting incidents. They don't want you to know. They're going to say, well, he had a mental health problem and that was it. And now we've got to ban guns. We've got to restrict bump stocks. We've got to restrict weapons. We got to make sure people don't ever have the possibility of having ammunition or weapons. And of course, we know that these kids, these different adults, if you want to commit a crime, you will commit a crime. You will find a way to do it. And if you can't do it with a gun, you're going to do it with a knife. You're going to do it with a BOMB. There are ways of doing things. There are going to be, you could use a vehicle. Look at what happens in other countries where guns are not prevalent. They find a way to do it, don't they? In China, there's stabbing attacks pretty often. A lot of other countries, right now over in the UK where guns are not that prevalent, people are getting stabbed. People use chemical weapons, which sounds crazy, but they do. There's so much that goes on. Mary, let's see here. Uvalde was disgusting. Cops waited too long. They did. And in this case, I don't know if it's true, if it's an unfounded rumor, but I heard that Colt Gray this time around also called the school and said that, hey, there's going to be a shooting today at multiple schools, and it's going to start at Appalachia High School. Now, is this true? I believe it to be true. And if it is, then what were they doing? Were they already aware? Were they already on the lookout? Why weren't police already at the school? I know that the shooting was reported right around 10:23 a.m. And if you guys read some of the accounts, it's just awful. Allison Colt's aunt posted on social media that he had a bad family situation and not to judge him. Well, we are going to judge him. I feel bad for these kids. We all know they're in our communities. And trust me, if you don't think so, they're in your community too. And the teachers and the school officials that work with these kids, a lot of times they have a good idea who the troubled kids are. And it certainly sounds like Colt was having a bad situation at home. Again, his parents not together. any longer. I know, again, removed from his mother in some way, not living in his mother's home, but living with his father with two smaller siblings. And we don't know what the situation was. But I will tell you what, I was looking at photos of Colt Gray last night, and just like so many other kids, just a cute little boy, so innocent. And then the next thing you know, 14 years old, taking a weapon into a school and shooting classmates, killed two students, a coach, a teacher. Unbelievable, unbelievable. And Mary says, how the parents feel, it's sad. It is sad. And it's sad for Colt Gray's parents too, quite honestly. Last night I saw that there was a post that was circulating that said, pray for Colt Gray's family. And I think that's absolutely true, because they have now also lost a son. Colt Gray is going to be charged as an adult. He's going to spend time in an adult prison, not a prison for children. They will absolutely charge him as an adult, and he will never see the light of day again. And I do feel bad for his parents, regardless of the situations. But don't tell me that just because he had a bad home life, that this is justified. It is absolutely not justified. We need better healthcare system. We need a better system for mental health, because that a lot of times these shootings, that's exactly what it is, especially kids. It's mental health. We need the schools to step up. I don't know that Colt Gray was bullied. If he was, I haven't heard that yet. I heard a student report that he sat in the back of the classroom. No one knew who he was. He didn't talk to anyone. He really didn't have any friends. I don't know if he was bullied or not, but I will tell you that a lot of these kids who commit these crimes are bullied. And I think I was lucky when I was in school. I was never bullied. I never had to deal with any of that. I can't imagine what it would have felt like to be the student that's bullied. How awful you must feel. I know we've talked about many times, not on this show, but on other shows, about students, young kids who are bullied and they end up committing suicide, or they become violent. And schools do absolutely nothing. They don't. They do nothing. And it's unfortunate that I had a family member one time that was being bullied at school. And in this particular situation, her parent called the school and reported it. And then guess what happens? The school brings the bullies in and talk to them, and they say, oh, why are you bullying XX kid? And then what happens? The bullying steps up. I don't know what the solution is, but if I were a teacher, if I were a school administrator, and I saw and I knew that there were kids in my school bullying other kids, those kids would be expelled. They would never come back to my school again. And anytime I saw incident of bullying, out those kids would go. There is no excuse, no tolerance for bullying in schools. It is wrong, and we have seen what happens when kids are allowed to rampantly bully people. It is horrible. And let's see here, Allison, parents need to step up. They never want to admit their child has an issue. That is so true. I saw that in my own community recently because there was an incident where some kids were doing just some crazy things kids do, riding their bicycles in and out of traffic on a busy road, stopping in the middle of the road and not letting traffic through, going up into people's driveways and taking things out of their cars. And it all played out on our community Facebook page. And it was parents saying, well, I know who it did. It was this kid, this kid, this kid. And then the parent of those kids said, well, it's not my kid. Stop saying it's my kid. My kid would never do that. And then somebody shows a photo. Well, yeah, it is your kid. Here's the photo. Why aren't you watching your kid? Why are you denying it? And man, the parent was so upset. Complete denial that his child would ever do something like this. And it happens all the time. You never want to think that your own kids are capable of something like this. And in this particular situation with Colt Gray, I mean, obviously his parents knew that it was on his mind. And in May of 2023, when the FBI investigated Colt Gray for making these online threats, surely the parents knew. And if we find, and there's probably already somebody out here or there who knows that Colt Gray did, in fact, use a weapon that belonged to his father or another family member, I think in this case, and I'm never usually against, I mean, I should say I never usually support the parents being arrested or that the parents should be held accountable. But when it's a 14-year-old and that they're already a danger to the community and you allow them access to weapons or have weapons in the home, then you need to be held accountable. I feel bad saying that, but you have to be held accountable. Tara, schools need to be able to expel these students. Let's see. This kid was a known threat. Yes, he was a known threat. And also that, and you make a very good point there, Tara, because I'm talking about expelling the bullies. Yes, if a kid makes a threat to say he's going to shoot up a school or post photos of guns and act like he's going to go in and terrorize his students or harm people, he should never be allowed to attend a public school. They should have to homeschool him. He should have to go to a tutor. He should have to have some type of private education, but not in a public school. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And yeah, people need to step up. Mary says people may shun his parents. They probably will. But I saw some people online who were just flat out angry at his parents for not doing more, for not talking about not keeping him, out of school, not paying attention to what he was doing. You can't tell me as a parent, I'm a parent. I have one son and I know everything for the most part that he goes through, whether when he was a child and when he was an adult. And especially, man, when you're at 14, 15 years old, those are tough ages for a lot of kids. And parents have to pay attention. You have to know what your kids are going through. And I am a big believer in if your child has social media, if they have a cell phone, if they have a computer, you as the parent, you need to be in that computer. You need to be on their cell phone. You need to be in their social media accounts. And if they don't allow you open access to their accounts, then they don't have accounts. Stop thinking your children are your friends or that you want to be the cool parent. And, oh, my kid would never do that. I'm not going to look at their social media. You have to. It's your job as a parent to look at their social media. And, maybe I'm wrong, but when my son was younger, I would go in his room and I would search every single drawer. I would look under the mattress. I would look under the bed. I looked everywhere. He wasn't doing anything wrong. I just feel like that's my job as a parent to know what is going on. Does he have cigarettes? Did somebody give him some drugs? Does he have alcohol in his room? I want to know every single thing that my child's doing. And you might think that is crossing the line or that they should have some privacy. And yes, he didn't know I did any of those things. He probably to this day doesn't know I would search his room to see what he had. If he was down in the basement and spent a lot of time in the basement, I'd go down the basement and search too. And if I found something, I wouldn't have told him or said anything unless it was a weapon or alcohol or drugs or something he shouldn't have. But you have to. Tara says, yes, minor children get no privacy. My adult children get no privacy while I'm paying for their education, phones, and cars. That's absolutely correct. Robert, agree. Parental oversight. Amen, Tabs. Thank you, Joe. You absolutely have to step up as a parent. Allison, parents do not seek out mental health support for children because of embarrassment. And for embarrassment, but also because you don't want your child on drugs. I get it. I will tell you one thing. There was a time when my son was young when one of his teachers thought that maybe he had a hyperactivity disorder. And they're like, oh, well, making him an appointment, with a counselor and see if they can evaluate him if he has hyperactivity disorder. And I'm like, okay, well, if he does, outside of behavior modification, what's going to happen? Oh, they'll prescribe Ritalin. Nope, not going to happen. My kid is not taking Ritalin or any other of these medications they give the kids. I might try behavior modification. I am not giving my children any of these medicines that they give kids. And I understand there are kids out there who need medication for mental health situations. No question about it. Some kids have a chemical imbalance and they need certain types of medications to balance them out. And I understand that also. But you absolutely, to me, have to prove to me that my child taking medication is more beneficial then behavior modification. Are they really past a certain point where you have to have medication? So it is embarrassment, it's medication, it's so many other things. And Karen says she did the same thing. Joe, I do all that stuff. I know how bad I was. You know, you have to know what's going on. And I'm not kidding you. I am so sick of hearing people say, I don't think my kid would ever do anything wrong. They deserve their right to privacy. And what's in their room is is their stuff. And I'm not going to go through it. If my kid knew I went through their stuff, your kid needs to know that you're going to go through their stuff. They need to know that they cannot have whatever it is you've deemed that they shouldn't have, whether that's electronics or certain games or cigarettes or drugs or alcohol, whatever it may be, whatever it may be. It is your job as a parent. It's not the school's job. It's not your friends, your kids' friends' parents' job. It is your job to make sure your children don't have weapons or guns or drugs or anything else they can't have. It is your job to make sure they're not on social media receiving naked photos, because yes, kids do that. And trust me, they will come to your house, the FBI will, and they will knock on your door if these photos are being circulated. I've heard of instances like that happening if your kid's online and they're bullying kids. Or more than anything, I can't tell you how many stories I've read about kids who committed suicide and had their parents looked on their social media and saw that these other kids were bullying them and egging them on to commit suicide and saying these horrible things to them. Their children, it's possible they might still be alive. It is your job, it's your responsibility to look at your children's phone, to look at their social media, know who they're talking to, what they're saying. I probably sound like a crazy person who goes overboard, but man, you have to know. I was teasing my son the other day. I asked him if he remembered, because at my house, we had very strict rules. And one of those rules was when he got to be, 16, 17 years old, prior to him being 16 and 17 years old, or well, probably about 15, we had a rule that I had to know where you were all the time. And if I opened the front door and I didn't see you with my eyes, and you didn't tell me you were going somewhere, then you're in a lot of trouble, because I want to know where you are all the time. That's my responsibility to know where you are all the time. And then when my son got older and he was 16, 17, and he was, out walking around town doing his thing, then we had another rule. And that rule was that even on the weekends, you were home by 11 p.m. And I realized, yes, he's 17 years old. He, can do a little bit more, but no, if you're living in my house, you're living under my rules. And I kid you not, I am not kidding at all. When 11 o'clock came around, I went out. If he wasn't home, I would go out and look for him. I would go out, I would leave my house, and I would find him. Now, very rarely did that ever happen. And that might seem a little bit overboard, but you know what? My son has never been in trouble. He doesn't do drugs and he doesn't drink alcohol. Why? Because, and not to say that you parents out there, trust me, I know there are parents out there who say, I did all of those things and my child still ended up getting in with the wrong crowd or doing things. You can't always prevent it, but you have to do your best and try to do that. Allison, our grandkids have trackers on their phone. Which is a great idea. Can see where they are at all times. Allison said, if you have firearms, teach your kids or grandchildren how to use them safely. And Mary, a lot need dietary modifications. Very true when it comes to hyperactivity and different things like that, or other would-be mental disorders. Sometimes it is just a dietary modification. All of those things, just do your part. That's all I'm saying. I am so tired of every time I see one of these school shootings or I see these situations about bullying, I'm like, man, parents, step up and do your thing. Do your best. That's all you can do is your best. And I don't know Colt Gray's parents. Maybe his dad was doing everything in his power to make sure that his son was mentally stable, that he didn't have access to weapons, that he just got him in and out of school every day. I have no idea. I don't know his parents, but every time something like this happens, you always think, man, there's 4 lives lost. How could we have prevented those lives from being lost? And absolutely, if you have weapons, I'm all for having weapons in the house. There was a time I wasn't. your kids absolutely know how to use them, safely, and understand these are not toys, and they are certainly not to threaten other people with. There are other ways to take care of things. It's a sad situation. Mary, cover them in the school with prayer every day. That's all we can do is pray, isn't it? At this point, it's all we can do. But we know it's going to happen. Harris, as a matter of fact, the Harris campaign, they already have jumped on the bandwagon of course how they want to take away our guns, right? And of course, it's unfortunately convenient right before an election that we have a school shooting. And no, I'm not going down any rabbit hole with this. However, of course, they're going to use this incident to say we need more gun control, because what do you think that they're going to do? Good and well, just like I do, the Harris administration is absolutely going to attempt to take your weapons away from you. So be prepared for that. First, they're going to take away your voice. I just played you guys again a video the other day on Tuesday of Tim Walz saying there's no guarantee to free speech, especially when it's disinformation. They're going to take away your First Amendment. They're going to go after that first, and then they're going to go after your Second Amendment. And trust me, they absolutely will. Democrats already trying these forced gun buyback programs in different areas. It is going to happen. You guys saw the video here earlier of the woman at the ballot box with a whole stack of ballots. She's just feeding into the ballot box, and it's already happening. And as Colonel Joe said, there is no way they're ever going to allow Trump back into the Oval Office. They will never allow it. And I wasn't going to talk about this yet. As a matter of fact, I was probably going to save it for tomorrow, but we'll just get it out there now. We all have to do our part, all of us. And I was thinking, if you saw my house and I have a giant banner I have a iron fence that goes around the house. I have a big banner that says Trump 2024. I have 4 signs outside that say Trump, Vance, bring America, make America great again, build something America better, something along those lines. And we all have to put our flags out. Get your American flag out. Get your Trump sign out. Do whatever it takes. You can go on Amazon and buy a Trump flag, a Trump sign for $10. Go out, get your items out. Make sure that your home has some type of insignia, whether it's your American flag, whether it's your Trump sign. Make sure you have something, because when the election comes around in October, or November, I am really losing my mind today, November, voting, mail-in voting, of course, starting tomorrow, we need to be able to go around and look at our communities and say, and reiterate to ourselves that we are the majority. We can see that we're the majority because we see 9 out of 10 houses in our community has a Trump flag, a Trump sign, an American flag, something. And not to say that some Democrats aren't going to have American flags, and I hate to say this because I have so many friends that are Democrats. I don't know a single Democrat that has an American flag. I really don't. And maybe there are some. I don't know of any, because most of them these days see that as a symbolism of either Donald Trump or of racism, which is just insane, but it is true. Todd, I wonder if you could pull that off in Kirkwood. Yes, you can. They might take it. They might take your sign. Who knows? But so many people are worried. Even when I got my signs out, somebody said to me, well, what if somebody takes them? Let them take them. You know what? They'll take them. I'll replace them. Somebody said, well, what if they come by and egg your car or do something to you? Let them. Let them. But either way, I don't care. I'm going to represent who I am. And I want everybody in my community to know exactly how I feel and where I stand. And we have to stop being intimidated over their actions. Because in November 5th, November 6th, when we start seeing these results coming in, you're going to really regret it if you don't have your signs up, if you don't have your flag up. Because you know what? Then they can go around and they can say, oh, I don't see any Trump signs. I don't see people supporting Trump. So who would have ever thought he would win? It's all a game of propaganda. We just got to play that game back. And our game of propaganda is we absolutely can show our support for the person we want to be elected. Allison, everyone, have a fantastic day. Thank you. You also, Allison. So, those are things to think about. We absolutely have to. And of course, we're already starting with this ridiculous Russian collusion, right? Which is so funny. I've got a video here Let me see if I can find it, of Putin. Now, hang in there and look at this closely, because obviously Putin is speaking in Russia. There are some subtitles under it, and he endorses Kamala Harris, which is maybe one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Во-вторых, она так выразительно и заразительно смеется, что это говорит о том,
If
что у
you're
нее все хорошо.
listening and not
А
watching,
если
he
у нее все
says
хорошо,
she laughs so
то,
expressively
значит,
because her life must be good.
вот Трамп,
When it
он же
says
ввел
Trump has
количество,
imposed as
сколько
many
количество
restrictions
всяких
and
ограничений и
sanctions
санкций в
on
отношении
Russia
России, сколько для него ни один
as any
президент раньше
president
не вводил.
ever
А если
imposed
у госпожи
before.
Харрис все хорошо, то, может быть, она воздержится от таких действий
And he
подобного
thinks if
рода.
Miss
Или
Harris is doing
отменит
well, then
в
maybe she
конечном,
will
в
refrain
конечном
from
итоге
such
выбор за
sanctions.
американским народом, и мы с уважением будем относиться к этому выбору.
I think that is the funniest thing ever. And he did that on purpose to troll our American intelligence agencies and our Democrats, because of course he wants Kamala Harris to win. He's poking fun. He thinks it's hilarious because he knows what they think, right? Because you know what? If Harris wins, guess what? We will have a weaker government and BRICS will continue to grow. He knows that. If Donald Trump is president, I don't know what Trump's going to do about BRICS, but I will tell you, Trump's going to turn things around. No question about that. I was just reading another article about Putin the other day, regarding BRICS, and he said, we're turning away from the West, and we're focusing more on the East. We are taking away money from NATO, and we're giving it to BRICS. And he said this isn't because it's not because he wants to destabilize the dollar. He said it has nothing to do with that. He said the reason why they're doing it is because BRICS now controls the higher GDP, and that as any world leader, when a country starts losing power like the United States is, well, guess what? You go with the alternative. And he said that BRICS has made a total of about $117.6 billion in deals with other BRICS countries, completely eliminating the United States and any other NATO country. And when BRICS controls the higher GDP, we're no longer the superpower. It just is what it is. And that is why I think there are so many predictions out there about our dollar crashing. And we've talked a little bit about that, already this week. Mary, they booted Joe out. Cammie would stay president if we go to war. I absolutely do believe they booted Joe Biden out of the White House. I think he's gone. Like I said, I don't even know if he's ever been there, but he's definitely not there now. He's sitting at his little Fischer Price Desk over on the fake White House stage where I guess he belongs. Why are they still parading this guy around? Why? We are the laughing stock. Remember how they used to say under Trump, we were the laughing stock? Well, under Biden Harris, we are definitely the laughing stocks about it. No question about it. And the Army. Why is the National Guard in New York City? Is it because of illegals? Is it because of an upcoming election? But they're there. I've got one video. There's several videos out there. If you really go out and search for them, they are there. I want to know what is going on. Why is the National Guard in New York City? I know for a fact that they are at one of the hotels there in New York City. And let's see here. I want to make sure I play the right video because I've got a few of them here. Here we go.
Now, all over Brooklyn, man. There ain't no cops anywhere. It's only National Guard now, everywhere. Look at that shit. Martial law coming, man.
I don't think martial law is coming. I'm going to play that one more time for you all. Let's see here.
Look, guys, the National Guard. National Guard is now all over Brooklyn, man. There ain't no cops anywhere. It's only National Guard now, everywhere. Look at that shit. Martial law coming, man.
I don't think martial law is coming. I mean, I think it's a possibility after November 5th that we could end up in a martial law type situation. But I do wonder, why is the military in New York City? Well, losing my headpiece. I'm just having all kinds of issues today. Why is the National Guard, why is the military in New York City? Why? We know that I saw there at the Walcott Hotel. That's a known hotel where illegals stay. They've literally taken over that hotel. I've heard the military has. Maybe it's to monitor the illegals. Maybe they're making sure none of them leave or come back. It could be because they're there. The Pam, you got it exactly right, I think. Is it because of Venezuela gangs? Well, we know that Tren de Aragua is in New York City. As a matter of fact, they've been spotted in Times Square. They've been spotted all across New York City. And they do know that in some of these migrant hotels that the gang has infiltrated and they're bringing weapons in the food shipments. It could be to monitor the gang activity that's taking place at the hotels where the illegals are staying. I don't know. But at the same time, why the National Guard? Why the military? Why both? I've seen countless videos of National Guard walking all around New York City, not just at this hotel, but in all different areas. I've not heard of any training exercise that's going on or anything else. Are they there preemptively, ahead of the election? I doubt it. Is it about the Venezuelan gangs? I think that's probably more likely to be the case because in New York City, they certainly can't allow it to get out of control. And there could be threats that they know about, chatter that they hear that we don't know, but it could also be terrorism. There's a lot of chatter going on right now. You hear on the back channels people talking about our different intelligence agencies talking about potential terror attacks. We know that there was a guy in, where was that? Arizona. I believe it was Phoenix, Arizona, who was arrested. I showed you his photo, a Hispanic man who was actually a member of ISIS, because we know ISIS has infiltrated the drug cartels. And this man was making IEDs in his home. And he was somehow caught by the FBI. And what was he going to do with these IEDs? This was some Hispanic guy in Phoenix who is somehow a member of ISIS. As we approach the election, we know there's a couple of different things we will have to worry about. One would be terror attacks. Two, what about Iran? Iran has very clearly stated that starting September 1st, they're going to start their retaliation proceedings. What is that? What does that mean? Are they going to be in New York City? I don't know. I don't know why they're in New York. And just something that we'll have to monitor and keep an eye on and see if we can figure out what exactly is going on. Because as we head into the election, I think there's going to be a lot of different things that could potentially happen. I really do. I think we're going to see Kash Patel warned that he thinks they could potentially take out our power grid, because that would keep us very busy for quite some time. If they take out our power grid, it doesn't just not like a lever, you just turn it right back on. No, it takes time. And that would throw our country into a complete state of chaos if they took out our power grid situation. So that's something to think about. Of course, again, terror attacks, we have these gangs. It would be very easy to say that we have to have not lockdowns, but that certain areas have to be a little bit more cautious because of these gangs taking over. I just watched a video yesterday where the Tren de Aragua gang, they're in Dallas, and they beat a guy senseless. I watched the video of that. I know that they're, again, robbing people, burglarizing homes, home invasions, kidnapping. Man, there's all kinds of stuff going on with them, and who knows what's next. But there's so many things that are going to happen, I think, between now and the election. We know that we are poking the bear, pushing Putin and China and all of these BRICS countries. Our government, we just don't let up. And, now we have Ukraine using thermite against Russians. I mean, if you know what thermite is, it incinerates people. You can see it. It goes out and it looks like a ring. You can go online and watch videos of it. And it goes out, it incinerates people. And it is absolutely unbelievable that Ukraine has been authorized. Because, we have to give them authorization. They don't think for themselves. Now we're using thermite against Russians. We're doing everything we can to push Russia into a war. And why? Because we have to throw off our elections somehow. We have to distract people. We have to throw off our elections. Perhaps, use emergency powers to keep Harris, Biden, and of course it's not Biden, in office. I don't know. But there's going to be a lot that takes place. And Allison, preparing to sentence Trump to prison. That could be, that's coming up. Is that September 18th, I believe, is the day that they are going to issue their sentencing. Although I don't really think that's going to be as big of a deal as we think. I think that there's a 99.9% chance they are going to sentence Trump to some amount of jail time. How much, I don't know. But I know that he'll appeal. He will not, as far as I understand, he is not going to have to appear. He's not going to be behind bars. So I don't think that that's the route they're going to go, but it could be. It could be. I think hopefully he'll win on appeal. Landon, I only would take 9 substations to disable the entire grid nationwide, leaving the U.S. without power for a minimum of 18 months. It would be crazy, Landon, wouldn't it? It would be absolutely, and I know you know your stuff. It is, we all got to have our heads on a swivel. I hate to keep saying that, but it's so true. Have your heads on a swivel. Have your preparation plans in place because, man, it is coming. On a lighter note, before we go, I know we've talked about some very serious things today. Isn't everything in our country fake? I think it's all fake, isn't it? Everything's fake. Did you see that Donald Trump, he's going to call out the fakery in the United States? And there's a lot of fakery that's taking place. He's going to talk about the Kennedy papers. He has stated, he had a town hall. I don't know if you guys watched the town hall yesterday. He stated that he is going to release the Kennedy papers. Again, more fakery, isn't it? Not on Trump's part, of course. But we know that Kennedy was assassinated because of his policies, because of what he was going to do. And they don't want that. We know Trump said he's going to release the Epstein list. Let's hope, right? That's probably enough to have another assassination attempt on his life, most likely. What else did he say? Full disclosure on aliens. He's going to talk about and reveal what's really going on behind the scenes. So something else to keep an eye on. I am so sorry. I'm having allergies like crazy, and there's not a lot I can do about it while we're here. So just bear with me on if I cough my head off in the middle of the show. So those are some things that Trump wants to do. He wants to talk to us about the Kennedy papers, wants to release the Epstein list. He wants to tell us about the UFOs. And I'll tell you what, if Trump wins, and I hope and pray that he does, if he wins, we're going to hold him to it because I want to know about the aliens. I want to know what's going on. I want to know about all the fakery, the propaganda that they have put on the United States. I want to know everything. And I think you guys do also. Allison, what's in the chemtrails? Yes, all of it. I want to know everything that's going on. Landon, all of the replacement parts come from China. We don't maintain inventory as far as our power grid. Yeah, if our power grid goes down, I think you guys know that here in the United States, everything's outsourced. We have nothing here. and then we have to bargain with China. Are they even going to give us the parts we need? Remember when we had to bargain with China during COVID times? And we, of course, don't make our own medical equipment. So we had to bargain with them to get medical equipment. So, respirators and so on. We don't want to have to bargain with China over our lives, that's for sure, because they would love to see us in chaos, wouldn't they? They would love to see us in chaos. Something to think about. Speaking of fakery, we're going to talk more about Donald Trump, of course, revealing these different details, and we're going to hold him to it. He said he was going to put the Clintons in jail, and of course never did. We didn't hold him to it, but we're going to hold him to these things because we all need to know who the Epstein list is, who are the clients. We all need to know. But did you know, though, that Donald Trump did say, I don't know if you guys heard this or not, that he does not believe that Epstein committed suicide. So he knows something. He doesn't believe Epstein committed suicide. Now, of course, Trump is not president, during that time. However, he doesn't have access to those classified documents. You know that there are people who leak the information to him. There's a lot he knows. And there's going to be a lot we need to find out. We can talk about this more tomorrow. I feel like we're ready to find out about the aliens, the extraterrestrials. And that is exactly what we're going to talk about tomorrow, part of that. Bring up anything else that you guys want to talk about as well. You can see the telephone number scrolling across the bottom of the screen. So we're going to be talking about that. If there's anything you guys want to talk about tomorrow, make sure you text the show because I will be happy to bring it up. You can text me at 314-546-2677. You think I'd have that memorized by now, but I do not. But it is scrolling across the screen. If there's anything you want to talk about, tomorrow's Friday, a little bit easier going of a day. And hopefully I won't be coughing and have these crazy allergies tomorrow. I'm going to take some allergy pills. I'm just going to have to do it as much as I don't want to do it because I'm sitting here. You know how it is when you have to cough or sneeze and you're doing every single thing you can to not cough or sneeze. It's like I've been doing that for the past 3 days all through the show. And I'm like, I keep wanting to, normally when you're on a show, you're on with other people. You have co-hosts and different things you can do and kind of toss it to somebody else or duck under the desk or something. But when it's just me and if I duck under the desk to cough, you guys are going to be wondering what in the world is going on. But man, allergies at an all-time high right now in my area. I don't know about where you guys are, but certainly so. Speaking of fakery, before we go, I wanted to throw this in there. Did you see the story about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift? I don't know if it's true. I don't even care, quite honestly, but I thought it was funny to see this because so many people have speculated that their relationship is fake, that it's just a big publicity stunt. And I think a lot of us know that a lot of times when we have these celebrities or different people in the news, whether or not they are actors, actresses, celebrities, social media influencers, whoever, they end up in these relationships that seem to be all too convenient. Then all of a sudden it's like a big promotional marketing campaign where they're everywhere, right? And of course, Travis Kelce, he got $100 million podcast deal with Amazon out of their relationship. And of course, Taylor Swift has sold out concerts, and not that she wasn't selling out concerts already, but allegedly there were some documents that were found and that are spreading around social media where it's a contract. I'm not sure if you guys heard about this yet. People are saying that this contract states that every detail of their relationship has been planned and that it's all just a big PR stunt, that they're not really even together. And according to this contract, there is a date. Now, this is all allegedly, of course. Allegedly, in this contract, there is a date, an exact date of their breakup day. And so what the story is it is alleged that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are in this fake relationship and that from the very beginning, they drafted up a contract with a contract end date. So, of course, Travis Kelce has hired from what I understand, allegedly a slew of attorneys to find out where the document came from, who released it, and try to do some damage control. I can't say any of that stuff surprises me if it's true. I don't know if it's true. There's a lot of propaganda out there in all fronts, not just politics. Mary says, eat honey. That's a good idea, Mary. I probably do need some honey because I'm telling you, my allergies, this happens to me every single year. I start out with allergies and it starts right about now when the first leaves start to fall and it just continues to build up until October. And I will have allergies so bad that I can't breathe and my eyes are watering. And I can't tell you how many times right around Halloween I've ended up in the ER or in the hospital with breathing problems because my allergies just continue to build. Maybe honey is the answer. Pam, I hope Taylor got big money for dating that big goon. To me, they never really looked like they were a very good match, were they? I don't know what's going on with Taylor Swift. I don't know too much about her. I do think she's a very intelligent person. She's done good things with her wealth. She doesn't tend to splurge it as much, but she's building like an entire compound in New York City in one of those big high rises where every time a tenant moves out, she purchases their flat, and now she owns 6, 7, 8 stories of a building that she's had completely remodeled. Like it's just one gigantic house, millions and millions of dollars. But you know what? That's capitalism. That's her right. I'm happy for her that she's able to live out her dreams, no question about it. Even if she is a Harris supporter, what can you do? What can you do? But is it fake? Probably. Everything is fake these days. Allison, mullein tea. I don't have any mullein in my yard. I go out around and I look to see what I have all the time. I have spice bushes. I have honeysuckle. I have all these different things, but I've not seen any mullein. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on that. Well, guys, that's about it today. I know we got started late, so we are ending a little bit later. Tomorrow's Friday. We're going to talk about aliens for sure tomorrow. There's going to be, of course, a whole slew of other things to talk about that haven't even happened yet that we'll also cover tomorrow. If there's anything you guys want to talk about, please make sure you do text the comment line because I will be happy to bring up any topic you guys want to talk about. I will be starting on time tomorrow. I don't have anything crazy going on. I'm not going to be tearing my wires apart before the show like I did today. I got up at 3 o'clock this morning to work on some different things, and that's why things were a little off when I came in. But either way, glad to see all of you guys. Sorry I wasn't here yesterday. I missed all of your comments yesterday. I kept thinking, all these different news things going on. I'm like, I wonder what everybody thinks about this, or that. So I was very glad to be back at it today. And thank you all again for your support. I appreciate it far more than you know. And I will look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. I am Tabitha with Tabs on Tap. Happy Thursday to you all, and I will see you